And in the studio with me is the mysterious Darcy, who is running for mayor. Good morning, Darcy.
Good morning, Shaun.
Well, thanks for coming in and sitting down and chatting with me. This will be the first time that we'll get a real in-depth chat with you as to where you came from and why you decided to run for mayor. So why don't you just give us a brief recap as to how you landed in Revelstoke?
Well, I've been on a bit of an odyssey. I left Saskatchewan end of June 2014. Moved to Toronto. End of 2015, I moved to Nanaimo. And from there, I went up to 100 Mile, Kamloops, Kelowna, Vernon, back to 100 Mile. And that was last summer when the fires hit. And I was camping the Centennial Trail, pushing the limits. My 4-man pup tent was wheelchair accessible. And that's a real problem, finding anything anywhere that's not only affordable, but attainable. You just can't find it. So this was my last stop. And I always wanted to check out this mountain range. I've never seen it. And I got Revelstoke stuck. And first agency I joined was the art community, and I got one of my paintings into the 2018 February 2nd Anything Goes. So that was very exciting. And I managed to get ID. I lost everything, absolutely everything. I just had my original birth certificate and some old stubs from Saskatchewan showing I've always had a valid driver's license, but my driver's license and health card from Ontario was gone too. So when I came here, it was the first time I had really great support, and I'm never leaving. I actually got a wheelchair accessible suite in the Oscar Street development, and it's perfect.
Okay. So you moved here earlier this year?
Well, last summer I came here just before you had the big storm on July 23rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that we're into the elections, you last minute fired your name in for mayor. Now, why did you decide to put your name in for the captain's seat?
Because I feel confident that that's a good place for me. I really do. I feel that because of my history, my education, and my work experience, this is really exciting for me. I don't have a problem with dealing with the law or red tape or looking at it in a bit of a different way. So it's exciting to be able to be part of that and be a servant to a community that really seems like so much of what I believe in, sustainable living. That's very important. And so there's so much around right in my backyard that is amazing.
Did you sit and consider, if I'm going to run, maybe I should run for council as well as mayor first? Did you think maybe there would be more of a chance on the council seat as opposed to like I said, the captain's chair? Or did you just strictly think, I'm going to go for mayor?
I strictly felt that my best place would be for mayor, because the people that are running for council, they've been here for a really long time and years, and they do know the issues. And I have been getting to know the people because I'm in a wheelchair, I'm wheeling all over. And one thing I notice is people stop, and not to rip off my chair or to steal my ID or anything. And it was wonderful, but a little embarrassing when you're trying to slug it across the one-way bridge to the Big Eddy, and this wonderful woman in a minivan, she's got the green light. You know what she does? She burns a Yui, and she jumps out and helps me over the snow. And so I feel that the council will definitely be. The forum was amazing to me. That's not the way it goes in small town Saskatchewan, and because I know the law, because I know how to work it, and I feel it's a good seat for me. It's going to be a new council.
So we did have the forum on Tuesday, and there were lots of questions that were up there that had some deep history and some deep concerns going on. And you got asked those questions and virtually had no knowledge of those questions and had maybe 1 minute, you had 1 minute to answer them.
Right, yeah.
Now, you could tell by the room that there were certain topics, the DCC fees, ALR land is a big topic, that those were very important. How much information were you able to obtain in where we're at with that before you hit the forum?
Well, I have a briefcase full of copies from the town hall. I said, no, I'm not even online yet because I had to, get everything organized there. And I like hard copy. So I am looking through all of that. And I will take direction. But I also, one thing that came up over and over, communication. Okay? So I am very open to talking to everybody. And I do have the time to do it. I have not set up a business yet. Do I have a business I want to set up? Yes, I'm an artist, and I take old things and make them new again, and I do my own thing there too. So I'm still in the process of sorting through things, but I'm also very curious about a lot of things. My job is I got to find out, and I want to know what everybody thinks. So that'll be a lot of work, but I'm not intimidated by that. I have the time on my hands to do it. So even though it seems to be part-time pay, I'm used to that, being a mom, and also doing so much pro bono work. That was always my role. If I sat on a board, you got a legal problem, a big fat commercial lease you want me to look over, or better yet, we're not signing this. We're going to negotiate it because we're nonprofit. So for me, that's the way I go.
Now, the town is sort of in this split mode where many people want to see lots of growth, time to move forward and change. And not to say others don't, it's just that they're apprehensive. They want to see right progress moving forward. Where do you feel about the expansion of Revelstoke, and how do you think it could be implemented without losing the core value of what the core of Revelstoke represents?
Well, I think that's very, very important question that falls right in line with what I said. Deeply held belief for decades. There's no such thing as progress if we're going to leave the very best things behind, the best things in life. Now, Revelstoke hasn't done that. So my main concern is, how do we preserve what is really good and at the same time grow enough so that we can afford more of what we need? There's problems with not just the taxes, but the lagoon and the water system and housing. And so I was looking at, think outside the box, especially with respect to tourism. I've got a lot of ideas with respect to that, with respect to housing for seniors as well, or for women alone, or for young people alone. They don't need the same type of housing as, say, a family does. So we have to think that way.
So, Darcy, I wanted to ask you about your employment history in the past, what you've done, and how you think it'll lend itself if you were to become the mayor of Revelstoke.
Well, I've thought about this, especially after I hit 50. What did I love the most? What did I work the hardest at? What am I the proudest of? And I completed that all before I got admitted to practice law in the province of Saskatchewan. That was all my Red Cross training with respect to babysitting. Became a professional lifeguard at 14. I was the most highly decorated in my hometown because I received Award of Merit in swimming, all levels. And big time CPR, senior resuscitation, could handle that sort of medical emergencies. And I started newborn baby class. That was easy. I taught lifeguards and examined them, and senior citizens terrified of water. So I really worked hard as an athlete. And then I went to university in Winnipeg, worked for Via Rail, and I was the first female to do the dome car from Winnipeg to Vancouver. I did that, and that was great. I met people from all over the world, and I fell in love with BC. But I have big roots in Saskatchewan, and I started out in the trenches. I ran the entire juvie delinquent docket in 81. That's Saskatoon City. Then went to adult court. So very busy that way. And then I went out on my own and set up my own law practice, continued on with that, had the first branch interprovincial law firm in Canada, incorporated in 82 between Winnipeg and Saskatoon. So I kind of diverted from my big interest, which was to come to BC. I turned down an articling job here. I would have had to article again, and I wanted to work for the Crown. But I branched out, and I don't regret it, because I learned so much. I had to do every area of law, but what I was known for was being a fighter, a troubleshooter, and a lone wolf. So my poor clients called me the avenging angel. And then when I got really big and pregnant and gained a lot of weight and wearing Birkenstocks, my nickname was, hey, there goes the computer brain in her Jesus boots. Fellow lawyers called me the Bullet. But I'm a fighter, and I realized right from the beginning, the worst thing is winning when you're fighting for the wrong side, so don't do it.
So what is your highlight and your low light as your experience in law? What's a moment that really sticks out to you that you'll hang on to forever?
Oh, I drew blood in criminal court.
Like actual?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a story.
Oh, it is, because it was my blood. And what goes on, especially there wasn't a lot of women in the 70s in law. Now we're over 50%. But then the game, especially if you dare to want to be a criminal defense lawyer and you're female, the game is the Crown prosecutors and the judges, not the female ones, but the male ones. The game is, let's make her crack. Let's make her cry. Let's make her break. And that day in court, a woman actually flew in from Vancouver because her brother did not go into intermittent sentencing and mom died over the weekend. And anyway, what was going on was really against me, the prosecutor and the judge gunning for me. I bit the inside of my lip so I wouldn't get myself in big trouble until I drew my own blood, and then the gloves were off. And what I said in court is part of record, and it went all around the legal community, which is small in Saskatchewan. And I said, well, Your Honor, I suppose you're entitled to your opinion, but it is I, not you, who spent hours with my client and my client's family. And I pointed them out. They're crying their eyes out. And that totally turned the tables. Totally. It was a total different result. The judge gave the prosecutor what for, and the police, and said this man shall be transported to his mother's funeral in a fine suit, and it better get there early, and there better not be any cuffs on him. So I earned my chops, and I did not crack.
So when did you come to a end of the road for your career in law?
Well, a lot of it had to do with what Saskatchewan government insurance was doing with no fault. I did a huge personal injury practice, and that funded my private legal aid. And I was burnt out because I would work 24/7, and I'm on call. My clients don't get beaten up and arrested Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So I thought, you got to switch gears. I also have training and certification through the Law Society with respect to mediation. So I started my own mediation business, Common Ground. Okay? And I would tell, the most difficult is to settle a divorce dispute where children are involved. And I would tell the people the most insidious form of child abuse is divorce, where children become pawns in property. So mediation was really important. I do believe in a win-win situation, which means nobody gets everything they want. No one is going to leave happy, but you will be relieved, and you will have something that you can work with.
So you feel that what you've done in your years as law might transcend well as a leader of the community?
Yes, but one of the things I'm the most proud of, I said in 1991 when U of S hosted the International Conference for Sustainable Living. Sure, I'm a lawyer, but that funds something else. And what I'm really proud of is when you think you have nothing to eat, I can make a pot of soup for 20 because I'm a farm girl and I'm from Poland and the Ukraine. So, yeah, I can cook.
Darcy, if anybody has any questions for you, how can they get a hold of you? Because you've been tricky to track down. How do people get a hold of you to ask questions?
Well, on Tuesday, I got Telus came in. Jason did a great job, and I have a landline, and as soon as I leave here, I'm going to the Red Apple and buying myself a regular phone because that's what I can handle, and I'll have Message Manager, and I've always had that.
Okay, so what's the number to call?
It is 250-805-4115.
All right, well, we've been chatting with the elusive Darcy Wyonzek, who came out of the woodwork last minute just before the deadline was there. 4 years ago, Michael Brooks Hill tossed his name in and shocked everyone, and Darcy, you did it this time around. So thank you for coming into the studio and chatting a little bit more in detail about who you are and why you put your name forward.
Thank you, Shaun.